So good morning, everyone. I hope you are hearing me well. And welcome to our webinar entitled Managing Data Security and Privacy in Smart Cities Through Cloud Systems. This webinar was organized in the scope of the MSec Project, which is an EU-Japan collaborative project that stands for Multi-Layered Security Technologies for Hyper-Connected Smart Cities. But before we start, just some technical recommendations. So make sure that you have your microphone and your video turned off during the presentation. Please rename yourself to first, last, and the entity you represent, as it will be easier for us to identify you during Q&A. There will be a specific slot dedicated to Q&A in this webinar. So if you wish to ask a question, just raise your hand like you see in the bottom right picture here in the presentation. Please do not use the chat or turn on your microphone unless you experience some difficulties with the raised hand function. I will go through the raised hands and ask participants to turn on their microphones and ask their question. So please wait for your turn. So a brief overview of our agenda for this webinar. I will start with a brief presentation of what the MSec project is and what are we aiming for. Then my colleagues will provide a more comprehensive overview of one of the layers of the MSec solution, which is the cloud layer. What it is, its role in the MSec architecture, through the crypto companion database and the monitoring and visualization tool, and its application in a smart city context. A use case will thus be shown as an example and the demo will be presented. And finally, we want to have your feedback on what was presented if you have faced or are facing similar challenges. And we wanted to contribute to this discussion on how we can make our cities more data secure. But before we start, we want to get to know you a little bit more and what are your expectations for this webinar. So I ask you to please answer the following 3 polls that I will launch. So you will now be able to see the first pool. It's about the type of entity that you represent. And the data is anonymous. It's just for us to get to know you a little bit more. So are you part of a region or a city, one of our policy makers in this area, part of the research community, or from an industry or an SME? Let's just wait a couple of seconds so that you can answer the poll. Okay, so I will now close the poll and I will share the results with you. So you are mainly from either a startup or an SME or an interested citizen. But we also have here people from the research community and also from a city or a region. So welcome you all. So for our second question, we just wanted to know if you already heard about the MSec project. Have you had any previous contact either through one of our partners or one of our initiatives such as a webinar? Or if you know nothing about MSec but are excited to learn a little bit more, at least from today's webinar. I will now close this poll. So yes, seems that the majority of you already heard about MSec, hopefully through this set of webinars that we have been organizing. So thank you so much for your interest in our project and hope that you learn a little bit more about our solution today. And finally, for our third poll, this is about what expectations do you have for this webinar. And please answer as many as you like, as this is a multiple choice. So are you interested to learn more about the project itself, the solution that our researchers have been developing for the past 2 years, specifically about the cloud layer, which is one of the layers of the solution, or if you want to get in touch with our researchers. Okay, I will now close this poll and I will share the results with you. So more or less, you are eager to learn more about the cloud layer, which is why you are participating, of course, but you also want to know a little bit more about the MSec, so our project overall, but also about the main solution that our researchers are developing. So thank you so much for this initial interaction. A warm welcome to you all, and hope you enjoy this webinar. So what is the MSec project and what are we aiming for? The MSec project, like I told you before, is an EU-Japan collaborative project that brings together strong partners from both sides, from the industry and the academia, and includes 2 smart cities. These partners have been chosen for their knowledge on data security and smart city platforms, among other important topics for the MSec solution. The main goal of the MSec project is to research and develop a multi-layered security technology, which we call the MSec solution. And this solution intends to ensure cybersecurity in hyper-connected smart cities. Ultimately, MSec researchers are trying to develop an innovative technological solution upon which stakeholders can build innovative smart city applications that can be data secure. Therefore, the MSec's mission is threefold. It intends to lay the foundation for the adoption and creation of new IoT security standards and mechanisms that can be compatible both in the EU and Japan. It also intends to create a decentralized IoT ecosystem and validate its viability and sustainability. And last but not least, it intends to define, design, and implement a novel marketplace where smart objects can exchange information, energy, and services through the use of virtual currencies, allowing real-time matching of supply and demand, and enabling the creation of liquid markets with profitable business model for our IoT stakeholders. The MSec solution will be piloted in 2 smart cities, Fujisawa in Japan and Santander in Spain. But we also welcome, of course, other cities that want to replicate this solution. And how will our researchers test the MSec solution in a real-life context? By applying it into 5 different use cases that relate to diverse areas of a smart city life. And these use cases go from improving the well-being of the growing elderly population to monitoring rubbish collection, to create playable city games, for instance, to promote cultural events in any kind of a city. So all these areas of our lives use and exchange data, and we believe that the MSec solution can improve data exchange security and privacy in all of them. So with me today, I have 2 other colleagues from the MSec project, Aamir Bokhari from YNU and Francisco Hermoso from WLI, who will go deeper into the cloud layer of our MSec solution. So welcome, Aamir and Francisco. And I will now give the floor, I think, is to Aamir.
Thank you, Nadine, and good morning and good evening, everyone. We are almost spanning half of the globe, so I hope everyone is safe and doing well in this hard time of pandemic. I would like to look into, let me just get the controls so that I can proceed further. Nadine, I'm not able to move to the next slide.
Aamir, it says here that you already have the control, but perhaps you can ask again, or we can test it.
Okay.
If not, I'll change the slides for you.
Yes, I think I'm, IT is very funny because it always goes wrong when you actually need it. Otherwise, we will not worry about IT so much. So how about if you can have the control and I can tell you to just move to the next slide?
Yes, no problem.
All right. So thank you again. Sorry for the delay. So we will be looking at cloud security, and in today's webinar, the main focus is actually on how can we get the data security and privacy through different layers of clouds. There are different flavors of clouds available. So Nadine, next slide, please. So I will be first giving you, because I noticed in the poll that there are few people who have joined who have not heard about MSec before. So let me put a perspective of data security and cloud in a smart city scenario. As you can see that with every passing day, the migrations to city centers, great cities, a lot of people are migrating from rural areas to urban areas, and because of different facilities, because of good lifestyle, because of the way the cities are being developed and all. And when we talk about smart cities, so we definitely look into the IoT or the Internet of Things that basically will be fueling the key system of the smart city, because these days now almost everything is getting connected to the internet. So we want to make sure that the ICT infrastructure of the smart city has enough power and an infrastructure and an ecosystem that can sustain different huge data sets that needs to be analyzed and processed for the well-being of the society. And then through these smart cities, we want to make sure that we can improve the infrastructure, public utilities, services, lifestyle, and all these things. So cloud-based system basically plays one of an integral part, because these are the management, these are the distribution centers or distribution systems that basically cost a lot of money and very difficult to manage and time consuming. So using a cloud-based system basically reduce all those things. But in any case, we want to emphasize one thing, is that the security and privacy of data in the cloud systems is the important thing for the data processor, as the data itself is their crown jewel. So we want to ensure in this MSec project is to make sure that the data security and privacy of the data is the most important aspect and is ensured from end to end. Next slide, please. So to give you guys a little bit view of what cloud system exists today, we have public, private, and hybrid cloud systems. These are centralized cloud systems. You must have heard about Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. We have IBM, we have Oracle, we have Google. So these are mostly the public clouds that are available. Same is the case with private. Private is mostly owned by big organizations or big companies. Hybrid is just a mix of public and private cloud. There is a new entity in the game, and you must have been hearing about blockchain, the buzzword blockchain. This is a decentralized, a new concept. And since one of the missions of MSec IoT, MSec is to create an IoT ecosystem that is decentralized. So we will be talking about blockchain, and my colleague Francisco will be sharing more details on that. In general, we usually have different kind of services available: infrastructure as a service, IaaS, platform as a service, software as a service. The whole idea of these different services is to target different sets of data users who can benefit, and different companies from small to medium to large enterprises, so that they can actually utilize the power of cloud to distribute the data as cost effectively, as as securely as possible. For example, in case of infrastructure as a service, it's usually is for storage, computing, networks, infrastructure related. We have IT administrators. They are technical enough, savvy, that they can actually manage, and they can leverage the cost effective piece of that. Google computing engine is one. Amazon Web Services is also, they provide infrastructure as a service. The second is the platform as a service, where you basically are targeting software developers so that they can create their software applications. All those application developers, they can use the processing power or the computing power of these platforms, such as Azure or IBM Watson or Google App Engine. Same is the case with software as a service. This is more for general users. For example, I'm sure everyone is familiar with Outlook 365, Microsoft's. We often use Gmail, Salesforce is another one, Dropbox is another one. So these are end user applications that are being provided and managed by the service providers. Now, another new thing is coming, which is called blockchain as a service, and we'll look at it, how we are going to utilize it in the later slides. Next slide, please. So the question here is that why do we need security, and how can we get the security the way we want it, or the way it is secure for both privacy and data? So when we talk about data security, we basically look at what kind of things can affect data. Confidentiality of data is very important, because in order to keep a trust between two parties, we don't want the third party to actually know the contents. And then the integrity is another key point in data security, because if the data that is coming from different IoT devices, from different sources, if we don't have the trust enabled, or if we cannot trust that data, then we won't be able to rely on that data. So the data integrity is also one of the key elements. Last but not least, availability. Obviously, all this data in a smart city, in current times, we have so much gigabits or terabits of data that is coming from different sources, from different IoT layers or different IoT devices. We want to make sure that that data is being able to reach to its right owner in a safe and secure manner. Privacy protection is another major factor. So in order to ensure the data trust, or the trust between the communities, or the trust that MSec platform or ecosystem is going to deliver, we basically looked at a thorough risk assessment, risk and threat assessment, to ensure that we cover all the different angles or inputs or exit entry points, anywhere where we can actually have a person with intentions can take a leverage of. So we basically do that using a risk-based approach through assessments and all. The whole objective to do that is to make sure that we can not only find the problems or vulnerabilities, but we also are able to prevent them or mitigate them using multiple layers of security, so that we can, the end users or the data providers are able to exchange the data the way they want, with a peace of mind and the trust. Next slide, please. So once we do that, the best way to start is to look at what kind of threats or what kind of angles or vectors, threat vectors are there in a simple design which is related to a cloud system. So when you are looking for, when you are thinking about data security and privacy in a cloud, you want to make sure that all the possible vulnerable angles are covered. So an extensive research and a threat assessment was conducted in order to ensure that the architecture that MSec is proposing has covered all the major elements and as well as all the minor elements as well, so that we can ensure the users of IoT, the users of MSec ecosystem, the trust that they need. Very commonly, identity and access management is one of the key authentication authorization area that basically not only is exploited very extensively, but is also a key to get into the cloud, or is often required. So we want to make sure that role-based access control is there, the proper authentication authorization controls are in place, so that our data can be accessed by only the legitimate users. Obviously, data, whether it is at rest or in motion, we don't want anyone to peek into it or to steal it. And confidentiality is very important. So this is why we want to make sure that encryption is in place, so that we can avoid any kind of incident or data loss, whether it is at rest or in motion. Cloud management and maintenance is also another key area in cloud, because we don't have the people, or we don't have the management access control. The service provider wants to handle all that, but they give you APIs, and usually because of misconfigurations or bad monitoring, they are not monitoring what's happening and all that, or servers are lost or the data is lost. So we want to make sure that we also cover all those pieces from threat expect point of view as well. Data breaches, data loss, obviously data is our crown jewel. We do not want the data to be stolen or leaked. Phishing attempts are very common. And then again, most of the data is in the cloud and is being stored. So we want to make sure that the storage is reliable as well. Insider threats is another threat that is emerging a lot, not because that in your colleagues or your insider people are bad, but mostly because of lack of training, or sometimes accidents happen. Sometimes people get greedy or bribed, or sometimes they are angry. So we just want to make sure that same is the case with the management and maintenance integration issues. Obviously, there are different technologies playing a role. Different cloud providers are in place. So we want to make sure that integration aspect of security is not overlooked. System vulnerabilities, obviously, we do have a lot of vulnerabilities, sometimes zero-day threats, and there are different types of exploitable bugs available. We want to make sure that the cloud that we select or the cloud that we use is patched on a timely basis. Thank you. And then next slide, please. So based on the threats that we have seen or we can think of, we basically looked at the major challenges that provides the risks, and so that we can ensure that in our design or in our approach to the data security and privacy in the cloud, we do take care of all those threats in such a way that the risks are minimized. Data security, as I mentioned, is one of the main things, and one of the key risks that happens is because you don't have a visibility into how the cloud service provider is providing the security or is maintaining their security and all that. So we often see a lot of breaches, misconfigurations, or authentication authorization being compromised. So data security is one of the key challenge in our approach to security and privacy in the cloud. Data privacy, obviously, we do not want anyone to look at the private element or personally identifiable information. De-identifying or retention of data, it plays a very important role and creates a major risk. GDPR compliance and other, in Japan, we have APPI. So basically, we want to make sure that we are not only compliant, but we also exercise the key requirements from compliance point of view on the privacy of the data. Data availability, obviously, one of the key pillars of data. If it is not available, it's of no use. So we want to make sure that we are able to look at the challenges and risks where we are storing our data and how we are storing our data. The integrity and portability is very important these days. Lots of incomplete deletions, data loss, or due to unreliable media and other stuff has happened. It is one of the high risk areas that we want to cover. And last but not least, the compliance violations. GDPR requires a very strict and organized way of ensuring that the privacy of the data can be ensured at any time. Next slide, please. So I will ask my colleague, Francisco, to actually take us over the securing cloud data and provide us more details on how MSec is approaching in that element using the blockchain side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Francisco Hermoso. I came from Worldline Iberia in Spain, and I will presenting you how we manage data security in a smart city through different cloud assets. For the architectural approach, in MSec, we have a layered approach for the overall architecture. The purpose of the webinar, as you can see here, is to focus namely on the different cloud-related services that involves the secure city data assets. For instance, the integration with the companion database is being applied for facilitating the use cases and the additional services to mechanisms like the monitoring and visualization tool. So here is where we are going to focus today. As you can notice here, the crypto companion database is part of a cross-sectional functional group called Secure and Trusted Storage functional group. Okay. MSec provides a set of tools to secure the data using some different assets. For example, the mentioned crypto companion database and the Quorum blockchain and blockchain middleware to validate the data and the integrity of this data by storing hashes. Sensitive data storage needs to be secure and private. Crypto companion database is proposed as a parallel system to the blockchain for encrypted storage. This database encrypts the data with an asymmetric public-private key pair. In a quick overview of the components, we can see that the crypto companion database is composed by two different modules. The companion database module, that this is a normal MongoDB database to store the data and encrypted data, and the crypto module that is in charge of the encryption and decryption of the data with the keys in the key store. The key pair is generating using a BEIP 39 mnemonic phrase, so the data could only be accessed by the owner. About the blockchain, MSec use a Quorum blockchain platform. The Quorum blockchain platform is an open source and a permission version of Ethereum. It allows all certified members to build and run decentralized application that runs on blockchain technology, and only the parties to the transactions are able to access the transaction. It also enables a multiple voting-based consensual mechanism, avoiding energy-consuming proof of works mechanism for consensus. We need a permission blockchain for privacy and a middleware service to interact with the crypto companion database and with the different MSec use cases. MSec has access to Alastria, which is an Spanish public permission network based on Quorum blockchain platform. For more details about the MSec blockchain component, you can also watch the previous MSec webinar held on November 11th regarding middleware services for secure hyperconnected city data. To have a connection between the transaction in the blockchain and the data stored in the crypto companion database, a hash mechanism is used. Here is an example how we calculate the hash. For example, we have here a matrix sensor. We encrypt this data using the key pair, and then we calculate the hash using the SHA 256 algorithm. And this is the hash we use as a data reference. The blockchain, this is a graphical, the graph that how we intend to use the communication between the crypto component database and the blockchain. The blockchain save a hash created from the encrypted data, has some metadata to allow some queries, and the crypto companion database stores both the encrypted data and the hash. This hash is used at the and a connection between these two components. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, this is the way we these two component interacts. For example, to save the data, first we send the data to the blockchains, and then we with the hash of the data, we encrypt the data and save the hash and the data in the companion database using the crypto module API. The same case for to read data. First, we ensure that this hash is valid and verify the validity of this data. Then read the data with the mnemonic phrase decrypt the data. Yeah, we have the data unencrypted. In order to demonstrate how these components interact, I choose one of the 5 use cases of MSec. This use case is called Home Monitoring Security System for Aging People. This use case is a centralized approach on how we can allow the teleassistance of the aging population residing in their homes and living independently in order to improve their quality of life. The data is being captured and sent by a smartphone or home monitoring devices in a specific user's home. In this scenario, we have a lot of personal sensitive information that an attacker can use to commit malicious actions. As this use case involves the processing of this sensitive data, it's very important to ensure the security and integrity of the data. Is at this point where the use case takes benefit of the crypto companion database to encrypt the data and its connection with the blockchain to ensure that data tamper-proof. GDPR, as you can understand here, is very important and it is part of a broader context that have to do especially for the sensitive personal data that are being used. The architecture of this use case is composed by several components, and we have in the IoT layer the devices, the carbon home monitoring devices. In the middleware layer, we have the sensing platform providing this data to the application and to the cloud layer. We have also the blockchain and trust and reputation model. In the cloud layer, we have the crypto companion database. In the application layer, we have the connected care application and the marketplace. We are going to watch a video demonstration when we could see in action some of these components working together. So Nadine, could I share my screen? Okay. Okay, can you share my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, Francisco.
Okay, thank you. So in the video, we have a simulation of a real scenario at an elderly man's home. This is the simulation of a typical day of this man. The man gets up. Mm-hmm. Starts the coffee machine. Takes his coffee peacefully while watching TV. And at the end of the day, he goes back to the bed. All the activity is reported by the devices to an MQTT broker. Okay, you can see here the data of the broker, the number of the gateway. We have a smart plug, and a smoke sensor, and so on. Sensing middleware exposes the data to the broker to connect the care through an API. We can see, for example, the data of the smart plug. And now we can see the data that is stored in the crypto companion database. We can see the hash and the encrypted data. And this is the recent activity of the user. in connected care application, and depending of some rules, the alerts are triggered, indicating to the telecarriers that something is going on. For instance, one rule could be if the user has been in bed for more than 12 hours, and with this information, the telecarriers could take some action. For example, call the emergencies, call to the family. And finally, this is the data of that we send to the IoT marketplace. Can you share again, Nadim, please? Okay, the ongoing work, not all MSec cases are using the crypto companion databases. We need to integrate the crypto companion database for different use cases. We must work on research on the integration with the other database management systems, different from MongoDB. And we are working on improving the compliance with GDPR. We must cover some additional points of the law, like the transfer data to third party. The crypto companion database needs to support deleting modified data of the encrypted data, because this is a big challenge, because the data is encrypted, and we need better support to query the encrypted data. Finally, we are also working on finalizing the integration with the blockchain framework for the use case 2 and for other cases too. So now I will give the floor back to Aamir, who is going to provide us more information about the monitoring and visualization tool.
Thank you, Francisco. So in section 2, I talked about our risk-based approach and how we are using threat and risk assessment in order to ensure the data security and privacy in our design and how we interacted. So Francisco just went over one of the very important and key component of the data storage companion, crypto companion database. So I am going to talk a little bit more about another component that we have developed in order to ensure that the security can be monitored and looked upon from in the cloud layer from the cloud using the cloud services. Next slide, please. So in our architecture, we went over the cloud layer, and in cloud layer, another important element that we have added is the monitoring and visualization tool that can help us provide a security health check. Next slide. So this tool that we have developed is basically a software-based tool that helps us look at the security picture of the IoT layer. And the reason we wanted to keep it in the cloud are twofolds. Why, as I mentioned in section 2, one of the advantages of the cloud layer is that the computing power that you need, you can either have it in a private cloud that you need to maintain and all, or you can leverage one of the public clouds or one of the services, and you can use that platform to generate your own application designed to cater whatever the needs you have. Second reason is that if we keep the security within the same layer, and if that layer is compromised, we are going to be blind in both cases. But this way we are able to leverage and eliminate the single point of failure by making sure that the security monitoring is done remotely and can be done 24/7 from anywhere in the cloud. So this tool basically consists of 4 modules. One basic one is the data collection by the agents embedded in the IoT layer. We want to make sure that whatever is happening in the IoT devices from security point of view, and we have also seen in the threat and risk analysis that monitoring and often the guys are able to enter through various entry points. We wanted to make sure that our entry point, that is the IoT layer, where the data gets generated, is secured and is properly monitored. So this data, these agents, they send this data to the aggregator module in the cloud, and which then organizes the data in real time with using the high-speed analytics of the power of Amazon Web Services, so that we can actually look at the data and we can analyze through using the data analysis module. This engine basically ensures that whatever the data is being reported by the IoT layer, it gets analyzed with respect to the data or the attacks, well-known attack patterns that comes, and any kind of suspicious activity can be flagged to the security monitoring center. In order to make the collection of the interpretation of the data more easy for the security people to monitor, we have used the visual graphics module that basically converts all that binary data into an easy to understand information in a graphical manner that you can actually see on the right side, where it tells you the situation and what kind of attacks are happening and what kind of packets are being observed, if the source is coming from which part of the world, as well as the destination target area and all. So this tool basically gives us the complete 24/7 security monitoring capability, or threat monitoring capability, and we are able to do the security health check from the cloud without investing too much in our in creating the infrastructure. Instead, we leverage Amazon Web Services for their platform and launch this tool using their services. So this is another example of how we can ensure the security using a remote location. And also we want to make sure that the data that we had that is coming from the IoT layer is being monitored and is being and the security and the health check is being done on a regular basis. Obviously, the data is very important, so we are already encrypting it. The Crypto Companion database, my colleague went over, already encrypts and ensures that the data encryption is in place and the data privacy parameters are in place. We have also, in another previous seminar on IoT layer, where we explained how the privacy element can be achieved by eliminating the data right at the source. Any kind of personal identifiable data can be eliminated right at the source. You are most welcome to look at those webinars as well to have a more better understanding and the picture of how we are ensuring the data security in the MSec eco space. That's all I have. Thank you for listening. Back to you, Nadine.
Thank you, Aamir, and thank you also, Francisco. So now we have a couple of minutes for some Q&A. So please feel free to raise your hand, or if you are facing difficulties with the raised hand function, to ask us any kind of question on the chat as well. So the floor is yours. Either you want to ask a question to my fellow colleagues, or if you want just to provide a feedback regarding what you have heard, if you are facing similar challenges or are doing your own particular research, also focused on the cloud system. We look forward to your question or your feedback. So I see no raised hands and no comments on the chat. So perhaps it was all very clear, or you need to give a little bit of thought about it. And nevertheless, we will provide the video recording of this webinar. It will be on the MSec YouTube channel. If you have also registered for this webinar, you will also receive today a follow-up email with the video recording, a small survey, but also this PowerPoint presentation. And so feel free to send us any question you might have, either to our contact form on our MSec platform or by email, or even through our social media, Twitter or LinkedIn. So I see that there are no raised hands, so perhaps no questions. So I also take this opportunity to invite you to our next webinar, which will not be focused on one of the layers of the MSec solution, but on the regulatory challenges that currently our researchers must deal with in the scope of the MSec. And this relates with GDPR in the EU, but also with API, which is the counterpart of GDPR for Japan. And this webinar will be held next Wednesday on the 25th of November, also at 9 a.m. So I will also provide you the link for this next webinar in the follow-up email. And if there are no further questions, thank you so much to you all for participating in this webinar, for taking the time to learn a little bit more about what we are doing in the scope of the MSec project, but more specifically in the cloud layer. And don't know if Aamir and Francisco have some final words.
Yes, thank you, Nadine. I appreciate everyone your time, and looking forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, you can reach out even later as well, and we will provide you all the answers to the best of our capability. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Aamir.
Also, for my part, thank you for your time. If you have some questions, we will be pleased to answer you.
Thank you so much, Francisco, and have a wonderful week, and see you on our next webinar. Thank you so much. Have a good day.